we have a quorum and it is 6 o'clock. So I'm going to go ahead and I call this meeting of the Citizen Advisory Committee to order. Why don't we go ahead and play the short video relevant to the remote meeting, if you would, please.
Due to COVID-19, this meeting will be conducted as a Zoom meeting pursuant to the provisions of Assembly Bill 361, which
Whoops. Paused in the middle there.
I think you clicked something, Matt. It was working just fine.
Yep. Hit a space bar or something. Maybe.
Suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act. This meeting is being live streamed on the CCTA website. The chair will call upon members, staff, and other speakers by name. Please speak clearly and state your name before giving comments or remarks. Persons participating via Zoom with their cameras enabled are reminded that their activities are visible to viewers. Members participating by Zoom wishing to speak should physically raise their hand and unmute their mic when called upon. Members should mute their mics when done speaking. Citizens participating by Zoom wishing to speak should use the Raise Hand feature or dial *9 if participating via phone, and the chair or staff will call upon them at the appropriate time. Citizens will have 3 minutes to speak. After 3 minutes, staff will lower their hand and mute their mic. Participants via phone will be called upon by the last 4 digits of their phone number. It is requested that public speakers state their names and organization, but providing such information is voluntary. Written public comments received in accordance with the teleconferencing special notice for public comment guidelines are printed on the meeting agenda. If authors of the written correspondence would like to speak, they should raise their hand and the chair will call upon them at the appropriate time. All written correspondence received after that and during the meeting will be entered into the record. A roll call vote will be taken for all action items. Thank you for participating in a meeting of the Contra Costa.
Thank you, everyone, for participating in this meeting of the Contra Costa Transportation Authority's Citizens Advisory Committee. I would like to ask Ms. Reyes if she'd be so kind as to call roll so we establish our quorum and so forth.
Thank you, Chair Miller. Member Ash?
Present.
Member Bankert? Member Bristow?
Here.
Member Carr?
Present.
Member Chahal? Member Esquivel? Member Esquivel? I think I saw her. Oh, thank you.
Present.
Thank you.
Sorry. Okay.
Member Hammond?
Present.
Thank you. Member Hurley?
Present.
Member Linder?
Here.
Member Vega?
Here.
Thank you. Vice Chair Rosenberg?
Present.
And Chair Miller?
Present as well. And I'm going to guess you didn't call Mr. Moriarty or Mr. Powell just because the expectation is they're not here, not present on screen. Okay.
We do have an excused absence from Member Moriarty and Member Powell's, but we do have Member Bankert, Member Chahal, both absent.
Unexpectedly. Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Reyes.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. I would like to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the opportunity for public comment if it is pertaining to an item that is not on the agenda. So is there anybody in the public on the phone or here in Zoom or such that you'd like to make a public comment? If so, raise your hand and we'll call on you. I'm going to give a few moments for that.
And we have not received any written public comment.
And sorry, yes, thank you. I did not ask that. That's good. Thank you. Do we have any members of the public participating in this meeting? Let's see. I don't see any other than our membership and members among the CCTA staff, but all right. No hands are raised. So let's go ahead and I will close this public comment. And we'll move on to the next item. And so I'll use the word orderly transition. That may be a trigger.
You're on mute, Chair Miller.
Not sure how I came onto mute there. I was holding down my space bar. All right. Next item on the agenda then is the election of a chair and vice chair for the fiscal year 2022-23. So that will start, the chairship will begin effective July 1st. And the new chair will conduct our next meeting, which will be held in July. So we can do this a couple of different ways. We can do the nomination and vote under one motion, or we could do a roll call vote. We'll just move, someone will move how they'd like to do that, but I would like to open the floor for any nominations.
Well, I'd like to nominate Patty if she's interested.
I would second that motion. So Patty's nominated and nominated by Vice Chair Rosenberg and seconded by me, Miller. All right. Ms. Bristow, are you responding as okay?
Yes, I am. I'm not sure what you nominated before, but if it is a chair position, I don't know if you're aware or not, but I am already a chair at the Union Cemetery. I am also, I don't know if you know that, I am on the sanitary board. And I was just elected and took my oath January 8th. I am on LAFCO as well.
Wow.
So
wow.
I really have a full plate. So I'm honored and humble that the two of you would like to nominate me for, but I just don't think I can take this on and do the job that it needs. I'm sorry, but thank you.
I don't think
decline.
I don't think the cemetery will interfere with your life.
You know, I hate to tell you this, but it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. A lot of work for the living.
Yes, yes, yes. You got to remember, every client that come in is unhappy. Okay.
Right.
Very unhappy and sad. So yeah, we do have our hands full there. The one that I spend a lot of time on is LAFCO. Yes.
Yeah, right.
So, but thank you, gentlemen. That is so sweet of you.
That was a good nomination, Mr. Rosenberg. Just it's such a good nomination that a whole bunch of people have scooped up Ms. Bristow before we were able to get to it. Thank you for your polite decline. I would actually like to nominate Member Ash, who has always asked good questions and
I'll second that because I was gonna say the same thing.
Popular fellow.
Thank you, I guess. Was not expecting that, but thank you. Sure.
All right. Nomination for Member Ash, seconded by B, and then seconded by Mr. Hurley. Go ahead, Mr. Bristow.
Nothing. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Other nominations?
I'm sorry, could we clarify that's for chair or vice chair?
This will be for chair.
Chair, okay. Thank you.
All right. Well, we could do it by acclamation, but I think that let's make it super official. So Member Ash gets a pat on the back from each one of us. Ms. Reyes, would you mind calling a roll call vote for Member Ash as the, oh, I'm sorry. I would like to make a motion that we elect Member Ash as the chair for fiscal year 2022-23.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Rosenberg, Vice Chair Rosenberg. Excuse me. All right, so we just need a roll call vote then.
Okay, Member Ash,
Sure, why not?
Member Bankert, Member Bristow,
Definitely yes.
Member Carr,
Support.
Member Chahal, Member Esquivel,
Yes.
Member Hammond,
Yes.
Member Hurley,
Yes.
Member Linder,
Yes.
Member Vega,
Yes.
Vice Chair Rosenberg,
Yes.
and Chair Miller.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously with members Bankert and Chahal absent and members Moriarty and Powell's as excused absence.
Congratulations, Member Ash.
Thank
Soon
you all.
we'll be referring to you as Chair Ash. Wonderful.
Is that
And this is
effective
where you-
immediately or next meeting?
Next meeting, so you get off. You don't have to handle this one. You just continue to just observe at this point, so to speak. But you can still give a Sally Field speech if you want. You really like me, something like that.
Well, Ed, thank you for your service and Larry as well over the past year. I appreciate everything you guys have done.
Absolutely. It's an easy group to steward with because everyone has good questions and is very observant and diligent. So you'll appreciate that about this group as well in the coming year. With that, oh, and by the way, remember Ash, if I recall correctly, do you serve on the PC also in your city?
Yeah, I'm the vice chair of the Walnut Creek Transportation Commission.
That's hilarious. So we're brothers from another mother or something because I also serve as the vice chair of the Clayton Planning Commission. So that's proof right there. You're perfect for the job. You'll be great. With that, I would like to move to the process of nominations for the vice chair position for next year, for this coming fiscal year. Do I have nominations from the floor?
Yes, this is Member Rosa, and I'd like to nominate Claire.
Excellent. All right, moved or nominated. Can I get a second on that, I believe?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Member Hurley. Very good. All right. Other nominations? All right. All right. Then again, I think we have clear winner, but so it has been moved and seconded. I will move, excuse me. I will move that we go ahead and elect Member Linder, should she accept the nomination, as the vice chair for the next year. So it has been so moved. It needs a second.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Vega. Thank you very much. All right, so a roll call vote.
Did she officially accept?
I think it's probably good for us to wait. Yeah, she just unmuted. Member Linder?
Yes. Thank you for the nomination. I'm humbled, but if others wish to have to be vice chair, I will. I won't. I won't campaign
in their
against
way.
them.
Tag, you're it.
It's
Thank you.
fairly light. It's fairly light duty, I believe. Mr. Rosenberg, how many times did you have to sub for me in the past year? I believe it was twice. Is that
Yes, that's correct. And by the way, it's been a pleasure having you for 2 years as the chair of the committee. And I must say, I may be speaking for many of the other members, we all learned a lot listening to you. You asked appropriate questions, had, I think, great ideas. And I think you just elevated the whole group, the whole committee to a different level. So I just want to say thank you very much. Appreciate everything you did.
Thank you, Vice Chair Rosenberg. I think my participation is unremarkable relative to the entire crowd here, just because I often hear others asking questions and I'm thinking, gosh, why didn't I think of that one? I'm really interested to hear the answer to that as well. So I'm thrilled that we have high quality folks all around, but I'm not, I appreciate your kind words. I'm not rebuffing a compliment. Thank you very, very much for that, Vice Chair. And likewise, I've appreciated your even keel, and you have bailed me out of, a bucket a couple of times this year when I simply could not be here. And your availability and geniality has always been very much appreciated. I really like the vibe that you bring to these meetings. It's very chill, and it makes things go peacefully and smoothly. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, so let's see. Ms. Linder didn't throw it right out, but if there is interest by a member and they would like to be nominated, then I would at least open that for if someone wanted to mention their interest in that. We're getting you next year, Mr. Hurley. We're getting you next year. All right. So with that, then, Ms. Reyes, if you would be so kind to call a roll vote with, I've moved, and I believe it was seconded by Vice Chair Rosenberg to vote on Ms. Linder being the vice chair for the coming year.
I think it was Member Vega. Am I correct?
I'm
Correct.
sorry, it was Ms. Vega. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you. I just want to clarify.
Yep.
Okay, I will go ahead and do the roll call. Member Ash,
Aye.
Member Bankert, Member Bristow,
Yes.
Member Carr,
Aye.
Member Chahal, Member Esquivel,
Yes.
Member Hammond,
Aye.
Member Hurley,
Aye.
Member Linder,
Abstain.
Member Moriarty, and Member Powell's both excused absence. Member Vega,
Yes.
Vice Chair Rosenberg,
Yes.
Chair Miller.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously with Member Linder abstaining and Members Bankert and Chahal absent, and the excused absences for Members Moriarty and Powell's. Thank you.
Congratulations, Ms. Linder.
Thank you. It's been an honor to serve with you all.
Your experience predates my own here on the board. You were here when I got here, so your experience will serve us well. I appreciate having the continuity that you and members like yourself, Member Hammond, Member Vega, and Vice Chair Rosenberg, you've all been steady state the whole time I've been here, and I appreciate the continuity for your communities. All right, so congratulations to our nominees and our new elected chair and vice chair for next year, or for this next fiscal year starting in July. Look forward to seeing you running these meetings. It'll be exciting. Let's see. So there is an item where we can offer. I'm going to open up public comment on this particular agenda item, item number 2, which is the voting on this. Members of the public invited to address. So if anyone is interested in making a comment, please raise your hand. And Jackie, I'm sorry, Ms. Reyes, have we received any written feedback about this?
No written public comment. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. And I'm going to guess no raised hands as well. Okay. All right, no raised hands. So we will close public comment on item number 2 and move on to, I'm sorry, that's item number 3. So moving on, let's go to item number 4, which is just the consent calendar. I hope those of you in attendance were able to review the summary of actions and the attendance log from the last meeting, and just see if there were any material omissions or corrections you would like to offer. If there are none, okay. Ms. Reyes, have we received any written public comments? I guess no.
No, we have not. Thank you.
Okay, if anyone would like to speak from the public, you may raise your hand at this time. And I don't see any raised hands. So with that, I will close public comment on item number 4. I didn't hear any changes or amendments to be made to those. So I would like a quick motion to accept as is.
I'll motion to accept the consent calendar as is.
Moved by Member Hurley and
Second.
seconded by Member Ash. Public comment on item number 4. Excellent. I didn't hear any changes or amendments to be made to those. So I would like a quick motion to accept it. There we go. Thank you. All right. And so let's have a roll call vote on that.
Thank you, Chair Miller. Okay, Member Ash.
Aye.
Member Bankert. Member Bristow. I think you're on mute. Member Bristow.
Getting there. Whoops. Oh, there we
My
go.
answer, yes.
Thank you. Member Carr.
Aye.
Member Chahal. Member Esquivel.
Yes.
Member Hammond.
Aye.
Member Hurley.
Aye.
Member Linder.
Aye.
Member Vega.
Aye.
Vice Chair Rosenberg.
Aye.
Chair Miller.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously with members Bankert and Chahal absent and members Moriarty and Powell's excused absence.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ms. Reyes. Finally, all of the busy work, housekeeping is taken care of, and we can move on to real business. And we're only 24 minutes in. Great. So we'll move on to the regular agenda items. We have one informational presentation today by Mr. Wong, obviously, and Colin Clark on CCTA's planning staff. It's regarding the One Bay Area grant. It's cycle 3 call for projects. So I will turn it over to Mr. Wong and look forward to finding out what input we can offer you to assist in this.
Thank you, Chair Miller. Good evening, Chair Miller and committee members. John Huang, Director of Planning for the Contra Costa Transportation Authority. So tonight, along with Colin Clark, we'll be presenting to you the One Bay Area Grant Cycle 3 program. And if you're not too familiar with it, that's fine. I see this as an opportunity to share with this group who don't usually get exposed to this type of grants and proposals and submittals that the cities do, that we do on a regular basis. So hopefully by the end of this presentation, we would have informed you of what's going on currently with your cities and with CCTA, and just to get some feedback, input from you as a citizen advisory committee members, just to see what you're interested to see, what type of projects you would like to see your city build. With that, we have a short slide deck. I'm going to start it off, and I'm going to hand it off to Colin to go over the rest of it. And now we try to streamline this deck a little bit just because of the nature of the audience. And if we end up getting too technical, please feel free to chime in. But we'll try to keep it as high level as possible.
Thank you, Director Wong.
And Director Wong, just double checking that today we want to, do we want to cover the smart signals portion of OBAG 3, or is this mostly focused on active transportation and safety?
I think we'll cover the active transportation and safety, and at the end I'll mention a little bit about the signals project, because it's all part of One Bay Area program.
Sounds good. Great. Well, thank you so much. Colin Clark with the Planning Department. Wanted to cover some high-level eligibility and requirements of this funding opportunity, and discuss at a high level the local road safety plan requirement. These grayed out areas in terms of covering today, we won't get into too much detail unless you'd like to, but there is, an application online for local agency staff to lead that effort. Multi-jurisdiction project bundling as an opportunity, and the complete streets checklist, which was updated by MTC, the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, in May for the first time since 2006. And so that new checklist at a project specific level will be used by local agencies, and it will go to the countywide bicycle and pedestrian advisory committee for review. Other things we'll cover in more detail today: scoring categories and how projects will be evaluated, grant applications, including programs, frequently asked questions, common clarifications, and the overall schedule. But please feel free to ask questions as we go, because there's a lot to cover, and I don't want to be too technical if we don't have to be. So generally speaking, this is the third cycle of the One Bay Area grant. The last cycle was in roughly 2016-17 timeframe from Contra Costa's standpoint. And so that was cycle 2, and those projects have been implemented over the last many years, and some are finishing up around this timeline, and this is the third cycle. So the MTC region commission has the ability to influence the overall project list of which projects, both countywide and regionally in the 9-county region, will ultimately receive funding, which includes federal funds. And the pot of funding is 60% service transportation and 40% air quality related, congestion management and air quality. So there's a 4-year period for OBAG 3, 2022 through 2026. And the main objective from MTC's perspective is to help implement Plan Bay Area 2050, which was adopted in the fall of 2021. And generally speaking, the grant applications need to be consistent with those strategies and federal performance goals. And so ultimately what we're looking for as we coordinate with each of the 20-something jurisdictions in Contra Costa, including transit agencies, the park district, and special districts, is to make sure that these applications are considered the most competitive across Contra Costa, so that when it gets to the regional level of 9 counties, it competes well enough that we can, across those that much wider geographic area. So generally speaking, the One Bay Area grant is focused on priority development areas. 70% of Contra Costa's nomination list, or actually technically the final list that receives grant funds, must be within PDAs or within a mile of a PDA boundary. And in the case of the remaining funds, it doesn't necessarily need to be in a PDA. And so, any area in the county is eligible. And we've encouraged each of the local agency staff to coordinate with CCTA staff if there's any sort of ideas outside of PDAs, in particular because there's a case-by-case determination by MTC if those projects are eligible, if it's outside of a PDA. So OBAG 3 does.
Where could we find the list of PDA boundaries, so to speak, of PDA maps, if you will?
Sure. So we can certainly share that after the meeting. But if you were to quickly Google it and say MTC priority development area, you should find it. But within the application, there are clickable hyperlinks that try to make it easy on you all and your local agency staff. So the Smart Signals project is also part of the One Bay Area grant, which Director Huang mentioned. So countywide, there's a nomination amount of $57 million for including the Smart Signals component, 28.4 million of that being active transportation and safety. And though that is the call for projects that was released on May 20th, and applications are due from local agency staff on July 15th of this calendar year. So the difference here between the 47 million and the 57 million that you see is basically MTC is saying they would like Contra Costa to nominate about 120% of what ultimately will end up getting grant funds after it goes through the 9 county regional competition for funds. So the 47 million is more likely what Contra Costa is likely to see at the end of all of this process. And we'll go over the schedule a little bit later.
Well, I think Rosa has her hand
Yes.
up.
Yes, hi, I'm a member Rosa, and I live in Cerrito in the East Bay. And I was just wondering, in the city of El Cerrito, we have a corridor called San Pablo Avenue. Does that street belong to Caltrans? Is that why El Cerrito has never asked for signals along the San Pablo corridor, which spans multiple cities? So I guess the question is, if I live in El Cerrito and I want those signals here, but is it the city of El Cerrito coordinated through Richmond, or is it Caltrans? Like, how, if it's a different agency, how do we bypass the bureaucracy if it's the city that's making the request for property that's not theirs?
Yeah,
I
so
guess
thanks
that's
for the question, Colin. Maybe I can just answer Rosa's question real quick. Yes, so that facility San Pablo Avenue, also known as State Route 123, is a state facility. However, as far as operations and maintenance, depending on what city, El Cerrito, or others, or San Paulo, they may have different types of agreements with Caltrans for operations and maintenance. The city certainly can apply for projects on those roadways, but the cities would need to coordinate with Caltrans on that. And I'll speak to more on the signals project a little bit later on.
Great, thank you. So in terms of the active transportation and safety component, the call for projects process is underway. And this meeting is intended to get public input as well as the Citizens Advisory Committee input on local priorities before the application submittal deadline, obviously, of July 15th. So generally speaking, the program had been geared toward projects that are that have been vetted by communities and in established plans, including the countywide bike and ped plan projects list, including the low stress network, and being able to build that out hopefully in a meaningful way as part of this grant program, in addition to others. The community-based transportation plans in some of our communities in Contra Costa are also good opportunities, as well as local road safety plans. Many of those that are underway now, we'll talk about more. In addition to safe routes to school, infrastructure and non-infrastructure projects and programs, respectively. So in terms of eligibility, the deliverability is one of the scoring categories. And so projects at a most basic level need to be able to be delivered with a certain timeline of the, for example, the 4-year cycle, but also obligating the funds, which basically means getting an E76 form from Caltrans local assistance no later than January 31st of 2027. The scoring and the program have been developed in a way to encourage projects that are eligible for Senate Bill 288. And what that means is this is a law that became effective on January 1st of 2021. And the intent behind that law was projects for bicycle, pedestrian, and transit related projects are meant to be streamlined for environmental review under CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act. And so those projects would require quite a bit more efficient documentation process as it relates to the environmental review. And so projects that are able to be qualified for that are likely going to get additional points and move up the list, so to speak, in terms of prioritization of projects that can score well at a countywide and a regional level. Community support, we discussed the other plans. However, quick build is an opportunity. So quick build basically means materials that are quick build in nature, meaning lower cost, and in some cases temporary in nature, and demonstration projects before a more permanent solution may go in. And so the scoring has been developed in such a way that hopefully it allows for quick build projects to score just as well, despite not being necessarily in an existing plan. However, it is important that local agency staff that are putting together these applications, they make it clear that there's countywide Vision Zero, the countywide pedestrian needs assessment, and other planning efforts that do explicitly put forward ideas regarding quick build that that those applications individually can call out for justification as past background that's relevant. Equity priority communities are an additional scoring category falling under community served. You'll see that in the scoring later. And so the projects that score on equity priority communities will likely do better at a countywide and a regional level. The other scoring criteria, as you see here at the top, Vision Zero, safety and injury prevention. In September of 2021, the authority board did adopt the countywide Vision Zero to reduce and move toward eliminating fatalities and severe injuries, in particular as it relates to people walking and bicycling in pedestrian priority areas designated by the countywide bike and ped plan. There's a funding match that's required by federal funds that's 11.47%. So the 11.47%, if local agencies decide to exceed that, they do get rewarded for providing more than that, so that projects are the readiness is closer and more competitive at a regional level. In addition, bundled projects are encouraged, in particular, to find cost efficiencies and similar safe systems developed projects across jurisdictional boundaries. A number of these scoring categories can be recognized because they're straight from the 2018 adopted countywide bike and ped plan. So improving connectivity, the range and number of users that are served by a project application, demand that's kind of pent up and waiting to be served, latent demand, in addition to Plan Bay Area 2050 objectives, prioritizing public space with things like vehicle parking reform, policy reform, and things like that. And overall, each individual project application, so the authority board has a review panel that's made up of currently 4 members of the countywide bicycle and pedestrian advisory committee, and what originally was 4 members of the technical coordinating committee, which is now 2 members because a couple folks had to step down based on kind of schedule conflicts and workload conflicts. But there's going to be that 6-person review panel that represents the authority in terms of scoring the project for 75 points. And then MTC scores the 25 points on top of that to total 100 points. However, the air quality projects do get an additional potential 10 points from MTC. So quickly going over some eligible applicants. So cities, towns, park districts, BART, and trans agencies, which we...
I saw Yolanda raise.
Yeah, it was Ms. Vega. Member Vega?
Yeah, if you go back another slide, please. There was something there that was skipped over, and I was just curious as to the scoring on that.
Sure. Waiting for my computer to respond. All right. Was it the scoring categories or
Yes,
the?
yeah, Colin, it was the scoring category.
Great, thank you.
It was the last. I was just curious about it.
I remember there were 12 of them.
Thanks for bearing with me while this thing loads.
Okay. There we go. All right.
Yeah, so, oops,
It should pop up in a second. There we go.
There it is.
there it is. Just, I was just curious about that 12th one, increasing transit. Now I can't see it, sorry.
Increase.
Number 12.
I think
It's number 12. I can't read it.
increased transit ridership.
So what's that about?
Yeah, so what is that about in terms of what it means or? So
Are you talking about bus ridership, BART, the ferry system, or all of the above?
all of the above, yes.
Mhm. And that would be in conjunction with increasing availability for our bike riders.
Right, bike and ped.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
I did have another question, this member Rosa. I didn't see air quality as one of the 12 categories, but you mentioned extra points for improving air quality. What similar projects or what kind of projects improve air quality? I mean, public transit could be considered, but what are some other ideas?
Generally, each of the projects that are more likely to provide mode shift, for example, are going to score better on air quality. And there's the U.S. Department of Transportation, Federal Highway Administration is linked in the application that has a tool that helps measure air quality benefits from a potential project proposal. So that's something that local agency staff can look into further.
So essentially, actually all the projects in that category, active transportation, really would improve air quality.
Yeah, should.
Right, and to the point that was made about the scoring weighting. So there is a public health category for Contra Costa to provide more scoring weight on air quality, for example, that falls under public health. But in addition, there's the 10 points on top of the 100 points that MTC can award if applicable for certain projects. So,
Okay. Okay, thank you. Yeah, good goals. I think I get it. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Sounds good. Minimum grant amount is $500,000. However, anything smaller than that, we've been working closely with local agencies to encourage them to bundle them across jurisdictions so that, no jurisdiction gets left out, so to speak. Maximum 2 applications per jurisdiction. County is allowed up to 4 applications. And Safe Routes to School, there is a countywide application that John can speak to that is multi-jurisdiction, and that would not count against a local agency's two applications. So the local road safety plan, according to MTC policy and Caltrans policy, and a number of increasing numbers of fund sources require a local road safety plan, and that adoption date is by December 31st of 2023. And in the application, the local agencies can just estimate when they anticipate being able to adopt such a plan, including any sort of policy reform associated with that. Lafayette, for example, in November, the city of Lafayette adopted a Vision Zero policy that explicitly prioritizes safety over speed. So that was the first jurisdiction countywide to do that. The self-certification of compliance with state housing laws, that's something that we've discussed with local agencies. There's more detail from them on that. Let's see what else.
Can I ask you a
highlight?
question since we're transitioning to another slide?
Yes, please.
I'm just trying to get some perspective. It helps that you were giving some of the limits around things like, 2 per jurisdiction and, and 4 per, and then the countywide limits and stuff. Question I was going to ask was that the 56 million, which I saw sort of $228 million buckets within that. Help me understand, is the 57 million in totality for the entire Bay Area of available federal funds, and then they could be matched somewhat by localities, or is 57 a smaller piece of the bigger picture?
The latter, yeah. $57 million is the nomination amount from CCTA's review panel, and $47 million is the likely estimate of what Contra Costa might actually receive in the end after it competes countywide. I mean, regionally.
Yeah, so okay. I get to follow up that question, the Chair Miller's question. Yes, you're on the right path and you have the right understanding. The bigger picture, if you're talking about the 9 Bay Area region, and we didn't have this information in the slides, you're talking about upwards of $600 million for the whole Bay Area. MTC takes half of that for regional programs, and the remaining half actually goes distributed to the 9 counties based on well, they're not supposed to allocate, but they're distributed to the 9 counties.
And so you've got some probability in mind about what might come, what size of chunk might reasonably come towards the CCTA side or the Contra Costa side. Got it.
Which is, we're estimating, and this is the numbers provided by MTC, is about 47 million. They can't allocate that money like they did before, but that's why they're asking us to submit 120% worth of projects. But at the end of the day, if we get $47 million, we'll be happy for the county.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's not a small amount of money for sure. And Mr. Clark, I'm gonna say something right now, but it's sort of like putting a pin in something to talk later. I have been extremely interested in changes of mode of ridership for, in particular, school districts and stuff like that. I know that I was spoiled. I grew up in a little town in New Mexico, and even though we were a teeny tiny little town, buses picked up every kid anywhere. I mean, they drove out into the country and picked up kids and stuff, and it was all free. It was included as part of the education course. Here you got to pay for. But I know that a tremendous amount of the traffic that pours into the streets, between 8 and 9 a.m. is 7:30 maybe even, and 9 a.m. are these vehicles. So I'll be very interested at the end or somewhere along to hear about what Mr. Wong was talking about with respect to school transportation. That could be very impactful. People don't want to fork out money for a pass, but getting those cars off the road, I think, would make a gigantic difference at peak times.
John, did you want to speak to that now?
Yeah,
or
actually, this is exactly what we're looking for, like input, like information and feedback like this, Chair Miller. Again, if you're not familiar with these type of corporate projects, a lot of information here might be too much detail, but essentially at the end of the day, this is exactly the discussion and the input that we're looking for. Exactly, you gave me a segue to maybe kind of talk about the Safe Route to School a little bit, if it's appropriate. Colin, is it about time?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I'd love to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah. So as one of Colin's earlier slide mentioned, we have 3 categories essentially: active transportation, Safe Route to School, what we call is programmatic, which is non-infrastructure, and we have the Smart Signals project. So let me talk about the Safe Route to School portion, and this is non-infrastructure. So CCTA is actually planning to submit a countywide application to the, thanks Colin, perfect, yeah, to provide a countywide zero after school non-infrastructure program for all the cities and all the school district in the county.
Yeah.
Now, there are some that are operating now. I know in Central County, the transplant area, there are some schools, maybe the Diablo district, there's some schools that are already providing this type of education and outreach and so forth. So we want to actually roll that out. And then we know in the West TAC area, in the WIGTAC area, West County, the county of Contra Costa is implementing some sort of back to school at the high school level. So it is really piecemeal for the whole county. So we felt that, well, since we came up with this category, why not just apply on behalf of all the cities and the school districts? So that's what we're planning to do.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, so we're gonna fill in all the voids and the gaps and then Colin can speak a little bit more to what we're trying to do, but it's focused on the 6 E's there: education, encouragement, engineering, enforcement, and evaluation equity. So Colin, do you want to speak more to that?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I want to mention in regards to pickup and drop off is, there is a potential to kind of reevaluate that design and that, quick build potential construction for if the school districts want to be involved and want to be, a project sponsor or co-sponsor and work with the cities. That is, that's something that could encourage, cargo bicycle pickup drop off, for example. If that's of interest, that's what we have heard from some community members. And so, feel free to work with your local agency staff to coordinate on those types of things.
Yeah. So to add to what Colin mentioned, so if you're familiar or not familiar with these outreach type of projects, maybe you're driving down the road and near a school facility, you see banners that says keep, banners that says watch out for kids or watch out for children, be aware of the crosswalks and so forth. So those are the type of outreach and education information and that will be part of this outreach process. Now, education can be directly provided to the students in the form of I'm trying to figure
like bicycle safety,
exactly, like bike rodeo,
pedestrian safety program. Yep. Oh, bicycle rodeo.
Okay. Or a school. I forgot that term when the school has a like a seminar, like you reserve like an hour within the school.
Assembly.
Yeah.
Been a while for you, huh?
Yes, it has. So they have assemblies where they have a consultant comes in and provide education, the rules of the roads and so forth. So that's the type that we want to really roll out to all the school districts. And I think by CCTA prioritizing, and we've had this discussion with MTC, with CCTA prioritizing this, and it'll be MTC will acknowledge that, and will likely, no promises, but will likely provide funding for the program.
Yeah, we've implemented that in Lafayette, the Safe Route to School. And the reason it's been so successful is because you bring in the parents and they get involved with that. And you've got the crosswalk. So those are people from the community who are actually crossing the kids. They know them by name. And so it's been very successful.
Right.
Yeah, I know some of the complete street stuff going on in Orinda was definitely aimed at, there's some elementary corridors that are pretty scary, didn't have much of a shoulder for the kids to walk on and stuff like that. So a lot of they've been setting up some safe barriers on the side and stuff to make them walkable connected routes.
And the bike rides, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right, yeah, so that's one of the bigger project, and CCTA is working with all the cities on this. And at the end of the day, CCTA will be managing that project.
Okay, that could be impactful. Okay.
And yeah, John and I really appreciate this feedback, and we're looking forward to additional feedback in terms of what types of projects you all want to see from local agencies and other sponsors. One example from the CCTA analysis a couple years ago is the 10 years of data that was looked at from a safe systems perspective. So if a project were to be bundled across jurisdictions in a safe systems approach, one of the examples is looking at trail crossings and protected intersections, removing channelized right turns, for example, looking at highway interchanges. Those are examples of common countywide collision patterns. And so projects that address these types of issues are likely to score better. And I'll go back to that eligible project type.
Yeah, sorry to derail you, but thank you for the segue.
No, this is great. This is exactly what we're looking for. Thank you.
So should I talk about the signals projects now, since we're already derailed?
You know, Mr. Wong, you don't know this, but practically every municipality that has come before us in the last cycle, there's certain people, you know, Mr. Hurley likes to ask a bicycle questions. We used to have a fellow from Pleasant Hill. He's on, I think their city staff now, and he always asked about ADUs. My thing is always about signal timing. I always ask about how, you know, people are working together. And Mr. Clark, I unfortunately, I looked at the priority. I looked at the PDA map and found it curious. By the way, I know this is an MTC thing, so don't take this. I'm not shooting arrows in your direction, but I found it interesting and curious that while the road that was mentioned in El Cerrito, the entire road is highlighted as one of these PDAs. Ignacio Valley Road, which crosses, you know, near and dear to me here in Clayton, is it was not one of those point-to-point places. Kirker Pass and Ignacio Valley Road was not one of those that is marked out as one of those PDAs. But the signal timing coordination between the city of Walnut Creek and Concord it leaves something to be desired. And I don't think individually either of those cities perform poorly, but between the interface between the two of them that occurs as you come down the ridge from the top of Concord down into Oak Grove, streetlights and stuff is not ideal, I guess I would say. And I have heard those traffic engineers use the word pessimize, and that is not a good word for them to use when I'm here, because they better be optimizing. They better be optimizing.
Ed, we're just in Walnut Creek. We're just tracking your vehicle and making
yes,
sure that
exactly.
you hit every red light coming down that hill.
I wondered why it was always me.
But no, that's something actually we talked about last meeting when the executive director was here. We talked about the need for CCTA to take a lead on those main street multi-city thoroughfares. And I think somebody mentioned one in East County earlier, but Ignacio Valley Road, which turns into Kirker Pass, goes through what, 4 or 5 cities.
Yeah.
And is a fairly major thoroughfare, bringing people from multiple cities to BART, to downtown Walnut Creek, 224, 680.
Yep.
And there's not a good job of coordination. And so CCTA taking the lead on coordinating those signals and bringing those people together
Right.
into the same physical room or Zoom, I think is exactly what the role should be here, and a good use. If you could sort of direct,
For
hey,
sure.
Four Cities, we will help you engage better smart signals along this corridor, but you all have to come to an agreement. I think that would be one of the two big uses of this funding I could see is bringing them all together and smart signals in that way.
Yeah, and in fact, and again, we're not trying to take all the air out of the room, Director Wong, but one of the things specifically on this is, like I said, I've heard two municipalities, Concord and Walnut Creek, specifically use the word pessimize. They do pessimize those controllers somewhat, and I believe that each of them is trying to optimize for minimization of traffic through their own. They don't want the traffic coming through, Kirker Pass, and there's some statements to the effect of, if we improve the efficiency of the timing, it'll just invite more traffic to come through. And that kind of thinking is sort of like local optimization, but global pessimization for travelers, And so I'm not saying that I want to take people off of 4 and 680 and put them on Ignacio, but there are people like myself who used to, at least prior to remote everything, used to hop on Ignacio Valley every morning and drive to my job in Walnut Creek. So they are pessimizing me into a 40-minute, drive for 12 miles. So anyway, again, not to belabor a point, but I like where Member Ash is coming from. I think it's important to sort of help, speaking for our constituents, if you will, I think it's important to help the municipalities see their role in a greater than individual, they need to see where they fit as a cog in the wheel and understand that it's still a laudable goal to optimize the maximum, efficiency down that corridor. Or if I'm wrong, because I can admit that, then I think we could do a better job possibly understanding what the goals are that are being done by that, and get that information sort of back to our constituents, like, oh, well, they're pessimizing it here, but studies have shown that this is now causing traffic to go on a higher throughput on 4 and 680 or whatnot. When I look at 4 and 680, especially 4, I don't tend to think that. I believe that's why they're coming over to, Kirker Pass, etc. Again, sorry to take all the air out of the room. There we go.
No, you're not at all. Actually, I've never heard of that terminology before. I haven't, and I don't claim to be a traffic engineer, but it's good to know. So just to follow up on that, Ignacio Valley Road is on our radar, highly on our radar.
Great.
Pertaining to OBAC 3, unfortunately, it's not a PDA. It's not within a PDA or connected to PDAs.
Right.
But the concept that you and Chair Miller and Member Ash brought up, that's the exact concept that we're trying to achieve with the Smart Signals project. So
awesome.
Yeah, so and there will be opportunities in funding. We're always looking for funding to work on YVR, and then we're be sure that we're working with your staff from both cities, as well as other cities too, where areas cut through traffic, and then there's traffic problems consistently over time. So
that's good to hear.
Yeah, so we are working on that, but let me just spend a couple of minutes just kind of expand on the Smart Signals project. So the Smart Signals project, half of that 57 million that you saw there will be used for the Smart Signals. And essentially, we're trying to interconnect the signals on a major corridor, what we call is routes of regional significance. That does fall into PDAs. and try to interconnect all the signals through the 19 towns, the city, and the county. So that's that big effort right there. We estimate that's going to be about $100 million to do that, including upgrading all the equipment and installing fiber communications and so forth. But for this first phase, using this OBAC 3, we're looking at like about a $30 million project with the match, as you mentioned earlier. 57 plus 28 million plus the match from the cities, and we'll be essentially upgrading all this signal controllers. There's a lot of antiquated equipment out there. Upgrading controllers, software, signal cabinets, and looking to install video detection. What else? TSP, transit signal priorities, and all the equipment and out there that we can. And we're working with each city, and each city has a list. We actually have a list of all the intersections. I just don't have it with me. Our consultant has it. I just don't have it open, or else I would have kind of shared with you some.
This is the sort of thing that could help out a little bit with, I forget which member was bringing up about, pardon me, State Route 123 earlier, where you got this crossing over multiple localities.
Yes. It was. I remember asking well. Yeah. So that's exactly what we're doing, and when we meet with all these 20 city jurisdictions, some cities are ahead of others. For instance, if you happen to live in San Ramon, good for you. I think you remember Hurley. San Ramon is like on the top of things. San Ramon has the fiber in there. You've upgraded your controllers and all the equipment. You have everything. But now what we're working with San Ramon on is what else can we do? What are the gaps we can fill? There's a few gaps in the city there. When we talk to other cities, they don't have anything. Walnut Creek is actually in pretty good condition, but there's other things, other equipment and so forth that we can upgrade. Ultimately, fiber optic is the way to go, we think. But in lieu of that, and in short of funding, we're gonna do modems, utilize modems. Of course, a lot of the equipment that we'll be installing required bandwidth. So if you have the fiber, of course, that's more robust. But in the meantime, we can still live with modem on a lot of the things that aren't too data intensive. So we met with all the cities, and we have a list, and then the amount now is kind of actually about $30 million. It's coming in miraculously, like right on budget, we think, at 30 million. So that's a smart signal. It's going to be a CCTA-led project. So now you know the truth of the matter is that CCTA will be heading up two countywide projects, the smart signals and the State Route to School project. So the cities will be competing against each other on the rest of the funding. The good thing about the safe routes and the signals is that we pretty much guaranteed each city is going to get something. Again, we can't allocate funds like we did before for local streets and roads, and this kind of make it a little bit more even, so everybody gets a piece of the pie. We won't tell MTC that, but that's essentially what we're doing. And then we've been pretty transparent with the MTC as far as what we're trying to do here with the two regional projects. So they've been receptive to it. So I think all signs are positive. It just now the cities have to compete against each other for the other projects, which is bike and pedestrian focus, if you hadn't noticed already.
Yeah.
Member Ross. Sorry, this member Ross, I had a question. I forgot. Is this for the city of El Cerrito has like a it's the budget's already set and we don't have any money. So if we have an excellent project that meets all the criteria, it saves our quality, boosts ridership, meets everything, but it's zero funded by the city. And Clayton's got doesn't meet all the criteria, but they've got 20% funding. Or what fiscal year is this for? So if the city provides zero funds, there's no way city will get funded for this project.
It just hurts your points.
Okay, we'll just charge you points, and it'll be a point system. Okay, so just be competitive.
Well, let me clarify that. The city will need to provide that matching fund of 11.47%. If there's no
minimum, right?
Yeah, minimum 11.4. Anything above that is going to be more points. But
okay.
Because it's federal funds, the city needs to provide the minimum funds.
Is this, you said within the next 4 years? So it could be like 2 years from now, but be finished within 4 years?
Well, it's 4 years it depends on how quickly, well, this is an application, right? So as long as the city can commit to providing the matching fund, you can include it in the application. It's an application, right? As far as when the money hits the road is when the project, the city can, if the city is successful in getting the projects prioritized and selected eventually, then it's really up to the city to program there's a window to program the project. You can program it in fiscal year 22-23 if the city's ready to go, or you can program in the outer years in 25-26 or 26-27. So there's a window there for the projects to be implemented.
Hey, John, real quick, you were talking about San Ramon for the other cities' awareness, members' awareness. San Ramon, we have the Intelligent Transportation System Master Plan, which was approved a couple of years ago when I was still on the city TAC. One of the things that San Ramon did is partnered with, I think it was Verizon, who already had plans to change out some of their fiber. So that saved the city a ton of money, I believe, partnering with Verizon to kind of double team with that fiber swap out.
Yeah, so the same thing is happening in actually city of Pittsburgh. There's a company called Sci-Fi that's actually going in there and installing fiber citywide. So all residents, everybody living in Pittsburgh will have access to fiber, and we're leveraging on that. So for this project, we're not budgeting any money for communications for Pittsburgh. So again, to the point is that every city is at different phases. So eventually everybody's going to be up, up at the same level, and they'll have access to all this equipment.
Member Ash, I think you were indicating you might have a question.
Are we done with the signal part?
Yeah.
I just had part of the conversation. So, Colin, one of the conversations we've had, and I think you were in a meeting a couple of meetings ago where we were talking about it, is the lighting on the trails, particularly around providing safety lighting for, when it's not the longest day of the year, towards BART stations, in particular mass transit, on the bike, and alternative transportation plans. That sounds like like if we wanted to do 3 or 5 of those and make that recommendation, that they would fit under the eligible project types, because they're alternative transportation, they're reducing air quality, they're hitting mass transit. It looks like there's a lot of criteria they check. Is this a time we can make a recommendation to CCTA to identify 3 to 5 pilot programs and to fund those?
I think in terms of a grant application it's something to consider talking with the local agency staff to coordinate on, one of the two grant applications. I think you mentioned programs. I mean, the Park District could be the co-sponsor. If,
Right.
for example, I remember you mentioned the Contra Costa Canal
Contra
Trail,
Canal
for
Trail.
example, being owned by the Water District, but operated by the Park District. So that would be, a multi-jurisdiction boundary thing, but that is certainly the types of grant application ideas that you could suggest.
So does the operating entity need to submit the grant? In other words, I mean, the two jurisdictions would submit it sort of jointly, or is that these can only come from localities, or?
So in the case of this example that we're discussing, the
Park District is one of them. I see.
The city or the Park District would likely be lead and co-sponsor.
Right.
And then BART could be a co-sponsor or a letter of support, for example, if it's connecting, to a BART station, for example.
Right.
Well, and it's on BART property too.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
So BART is an eligible applicant also.
Right.
Yes.
Wow.
Just let you know.
Hey, if we're talking about trail improvement, something that I think Matt brought this up, it was pre-pandemic. So I live in San Ramon and I work in Dublin, so I use Iron Horse every day.
Iron Horse, yeah.
Not to disappoint Chair Miller and talk about bicycling. And I'll go totally to micro mobility because I bought an e-scooter too on days my legs get tired. Matt had mentioned before about East Bay Parks having a plan for Iron Horse to expand it. I think it's in Pleasant Hill. There's an area of the trail where the pedestrians and the wheeled mobility, so to speak, are separated. And that would, with the increased traffic, more people biking, using e-scooters, whatever case may be, is that a type of project that maybe could be bundled with lighting, like all-inclusive trail type improvement? It increases the cost and maybe the likelihood of a project going through.
I'll just pipe in and say, I think that was the county sponsored that project. It was looking kind of at the trail as kind of a bicycling superhighway sorts. So the county could definitely apply for projects related to the recommendations from that study. I think there were a lot of, there were several different projects that could be implemented. So, I'm sure the county has a priority list of what projects they're going to apply for. And I don't know if Colin or John know what projects they may be considering.
Who runs, for lack of a better word, Iron Horse? Because I know it crosses Alameda and then it jumps into Contra Costa.
East Bay Parks, if I'm not mistaken.
I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, Colin. I think there's an Iron Horse Trail group. I forgot what the title is. I can pull it up.
Advisory committee, exactly.
The county purchased the right of way from the railroad, the San Ramon Valley Railroad, whatever it was called.
But it is staffed by the county, I think.
It's under East Bay Parks, but there is a board and multiple cities have a representative on it across the two counties.
Yeah, East Bay Parks is the administrator of the facilities. But
consortium, the park is.
So if we want to sort of make the recommendations that Billy and I are both talking about, like, do we have to then just call somebody at East Bay Parks and say, hey, we think this is a great idea. Will you do this? Because I don't think we're going to get very far. How could we as a group here make an impact on getting that to happen? And the timeline is less than 30 days, right? We're talking 3 weeks here.
Yes. Well, you'd be surprised how much influence you can have on the city staff. But anyways, we can certainly, I may be talking out of order here, Matt or Chair Miller, but this is the meeting where we're soliciting input and feedback. and we receive your input and feedback, and we can certainly convey that to the city. I think that's something that we can certainly do.
Indicate the opportunities to them.
If you have access to staff, feel free to advocate for projects to city staff that, like John said, we can transmit your comments to the appropriate.
I'm sure it's like everything else, hearing from multiple inputs simultaneously, a cacophony kind of rising up at the same time probably helps. CCTA being the 800-pound gorilla in the room, but hearing from Member Hurley or Member Ash individually in concert with that, like, sort of like one call might not do it all, but a couple or three coming in might cause people to say, maybe we ought to look into this.
Yeah, so so Colin and Matt, do we have a good definition of what the committee members, Ash and Hurley, is looking for, and that we can pass on to the cities?
I saw Colin taking notes.
So a lighting plan or a lighting study sounds like a potential grant application, and if something like that has already been done, then it would be an implementation project of something like that, if it's already been designed, kind of thing.
And then Member Hurley was also mentioning lighting, but he was also mentioning possibly segmented traffic because of the increase in e-scooter traffic, to segment your pedestrians from your electronic micromobility.
I believe,
So
as Matt alluded to, that's something that's already in the works as well.
And if any of you would like a contact, if you'd like to know what your city is applying for and need a contact, feel free to reach out to us, and we can provide you with, a contact who's working on these applications.
Thank you, Matt. Should we? Oh, I see that Member Escabel would like to ask a question as well. I see a hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Kelly. This is hi. So I'm going to second that about lighting. Can you please make a recommendation for lighting along the Ohlone Greenway? It passes the city of Richmond, El Cerrito, Berkeley, Albany. Very important members of the public are also making the same comments. So if you can pass that on to our group. And I did want to second your comment as well about the pessimism. So I think you were describing about how I do observe it on the East Bay too, where the streets are meant for cars, and we're not trying to drive fast, but we don't like the stopping. It does save energy if you just flow through. But there's a philosophy, especially in San Francisco and in Berkeley, where they don't like cars. And I am a bike rider and I'm a pedestrian too. But if you're in a car, I do agree there. I don't know what it is. It's probably like we need to plan it out or just talk to the planners that, the streets were built for vehicles. And for safety reasons, we do want to separate out the bicyclists and the pedestrians. And we do want to support the bicyclists, but we also want the cars to just flow through. And you're right. I'm going to second you on that one as well. And thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Member. Should we turn it back to Colin in the hope of Mr. Clark, and the hope that he might be able to wrangle us down to the end of what he had hoped to communicate, or did you get most of the content that you had hoped to communicate?
Yeah, this has all been good. So you can take it from here, Chair.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Director, and also Mr. Clark. Thank you very much both for that presentation. And as you can tell, you've engaged us. You've truly engaged us. We're interested in aspects. Some of them, that interest came from things that you brought up in the presentation itself. Some some people have longstanding interest from their constituencies about specific things. And so it's nice. It was nice to see some intersection between the two and the potential to advocate for those things. I appreciate you guys and bringing all of this information to us, and we'll take this back also to our localities in the hope that if they may even have some stuff penciled out, and here's an opportunity. If you've already got something penciled out, then here's a chance to possibly get some of that paid for. So we'll definitely make that known to our localities and so forth. All right. In the interest of Brown Act, I would like to do what we need to do, which is to ask if there are members of the public who would like to raise their hand and comment themselves on this particular topic. And of course, I would like to inquire with Ms. Reyes if this particular item received any written feedback.
Thank you, Chair Miller. No, we did not receive any written public comment on this item.
Thank you, Ms. Reyes. And I will check really quick. We're actually one participant lower than we started out. And I do not see members of the public, and I do not see any hands raised. So with that, I will close public comments and we can move on. I apologize to everyone if it sounds like I'm pushing a few things through, but I know people want to get back to their families and so forth. So moving on to our next regular items that go on. Next item is reports. This is just if anybody's attended any of the, like maybe the CCTA meeting itself or any of the technical committees or whatnot, if you'd like to report on something that you observed there. Anyone? No? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Ms. Esquivel.
May I just acknowledge, I think it's CCTA measure J funds or something from CCTA. The El Cerrito del Norte, the BART board is going to be hold their meeting at 9 o'clock tomorrow. And you remember there's a lot of construction where we have new buildings, just a renovation for the El Cerrito del Norte BART station. So I think this committee was part of that, and I wanted to thank everyone for funding that project. Thank you.
Fantastic.
The chair of our board will be there talking as part of the BART board meeting. So to hopefully let people know how that project was funded.
Yes, signage and words. Good. Thank you for that, Member Esquivel, and the additional input, Staff Member Kelly. Let's see, anyone else attend any meetings recently? All right. All right, very good then. That was item 6A. And so moving on to item 7 is member and staff comments. So this is if you would like to offer up a particular news article or something that you read that's cogent, or even what Ms. Esquivel had talked about would be appropriate at this time if you think there's something important that we should all know about going on relative to CCTA or transportation in the Bay Area. All right. Okay, and I'm obligated to ask if, wow, that sounds bad. I'm just saying I would like to also invite members of the public to offer observations if they have them. Seeing no members, but of course, if there's anyone on the phone, press *9, is it? *9 to raise your hand. Okay. And seeing none, we will go ahead and close public input on public comment on item number 7. Correspondence and communications. There weren't any in the packet. That's agenda item 8. So nothing to discuss. Item number 9, future agenda items. Are there any topics that members would like agendized or added to a future agenda? Please raise your hand. Okay, and offering the same opportunity to members of the public once more. If there are any members of the public who would like to hear particular subjects covered here, please raise your hand or hit *9. Okay. And seeing none, and we didn't receive any written feedback on that, I'm sure, Ms. Reyes, correct?
No, we did not. Thank you, Chairman.
All right. And now, this is a very exciting item. I think everyone has been looking forward to. Item number 10 is adjournment. Yes, Ms. Vega, Member Vega, go ahead.
Yes, so I just wanted point of clarification. If there is any agenda item for the future that any of us think about, we should then direct that to Matt.
Yeah, exactly.
Please do. Okay, just wanted to make sure that's still the process. And a closing comment for me is I want to say that when you first came on the board, freshman that you were, I just had so much hope that you would just rise to the occasion, and you did. And you've done.
I remember, I still have a picture of you swearing me in. I remember.
Oh, I thought you said me swearing.
No,
Oh
thank
man,
goodness.
really? Gosh.
We have that in the Zoom meetings. That's fine.
Throw
We
that
have that
away.
in the Zoom meetings.
I remember you stepping up to the plate and my thinking to myself, good deal. So for all the other members, I would like to encourage you to think about stepping up next year, looking at taking on a position on the board as a chair or vice chair. I think we're really great people. We've got a great person. Matt will keep us straight and narrow, and we've got several people on the board who've already served. So I would just like people to consider that it's a phenomenal opportunity. No question is inappropriate. We really want to hear from everybody, and the inputs are great. So, and Jackie, this is your first time clerking, so thank you so much for doing that.
I was going to say the same thing. I was going to say, yeah.
My pleasure. Thanks. No problem.
Yeah, you did a nice job. Thanks for doing it. And if you see my name, I wanted to comment earlier. When you see Yolanda Vega, board chair, that was not for this. I'm board chair for the Contra Costa Workforce Development Board. Just got off a Zoom meeting with them, and I back and forth. I just said, just leave it. Everybody knows who I am. So
it's complicated changing these silly
And
settings. I'm with you.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
I'm looking forward to us meeting in person.
I know. I can't wait.
I do not mind going on record to say I am tired of Zoom meetings. So,
I know. I loved it so much more when we were all in the same room, and soon enough that'll be back. And and Chair Ash you'll have a little bit more touch and feel to things.
Yeah,
it'll be good.
It will be wonderful. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Jackie and Terry Ann will keep us updated on those types of things.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm really excited at who stepped up this, for the next year. It's going to be great with Member Ash and Member Linder. And I echo Ms. Vega's comments as well to say, definitely someone else jump in next year. It's a lot of fun actually, and it's good. Yeah. All right. With that, I'll let you guys actually spend a wee bit of time with your families this evening, and it's good to see you all. We'll see you next time at our next scheduled meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Good night.